Trump signed the Iran ceasefire last night. He did it over dinner at the Palace of Versailles in France. Iran's chief negotiator called it a record of American failure. Republican senators used words like capitulation, appeasement, and the worst foreign policy blunder in decades. Let me explain why this matters so much and why the comparison that tells the whole story is one Trump would prefer you to forget. When Trump launched his war in February, his objectives shifted constantly, but among the things that he demanded at various points were the destruction of Iran's nuclear program, the obliteration of its missile arsenal, unconditional surrender, and something close to regime change, or whatever word he used for it. None of that happened. Iran's government is still in place, and according to a CIA assessment, Iran retains about 70% of its pre-war missile stockpile. Its ties to Hezbollah and Hamas remain robust, and the Revolutionary Guards are firmly in control. What did the US get in practical terms? Well, the Strait of Hormuz will reopen. That's it. End of story. The strait was open before the war began, right? In exchange, the US committed to lifting every category of sanctions on Iran. The UN sanctions, the IAEA sanctions, all of US unilateral sanctions, and Iran will sell oil freely on the world market again. Frozen Iranian assets will be released, and the deal sketches a $300 billion reconstruction package for Iran to be funded by unnamed regional partners. Now here's the comparison. In 2015, Obama negotiated a nuclear deal with Iran. Trump destroyed it in 2018, so 3 years later, and calling it the worst deal ever made. Under the Obama deal, Iran had to keep uranium enrichment at low levels. It had to drastically cut off the number of centrifuges that you need for enrichment. It had to ship most of its enriched uranium out of the country. And it was submitted to strict inspections of the IAEA. And in exchange, some nuclear-related sanctions were lifted. Not all sanctions, only those nuclear ones. Now, under Trump's Memorandum of Understanding, Iran does not have to stop enriching uranium. The two sides will merely discuss the issue of enrichment over the next 60 days. Iran keeps its stockpile, and all sanctions, every category, not just those nuclear ones, will be terminated. And the Straits is toll-free for 60 days. The deal Obama negotiated, which Trump called the worst deal in history, was stricter than the deal Trump just signed. That is a comparison of two documents. It's not my opinion. These are facts. Now, consider why Trump settled when he did. Every American president before Trump understood the risk. The Strait of Hormuz, through which about a fifth of the world's traded oil flows, gave Iran a weapon that bombing cannot neutralize. Previous presidents chose to negotiate precisely to avoid the situation where Iran can threaten the global economy through that strait. Trump went to war anyway. Iran closed the strait. The economic pressure became intolerable, and Trump settled on terms worse than what diplomacy had already achieved. And now consider what happens in 60 days. The two sides are supposed to negotiate a comprehensive final deal, but they have no agreement now, and the nuclear question, the enrichment levels and the fate of the stockpiles and how to do the verification and who should do that remains completely unresolved. Obama's team spent 2 years working out those details. The idea that two sides that spent 4 months bombing each other can solve this in 60 days is just not credible. Then arrives day 61 in mid-August, close to the midterm season. Trump has said he will go back to bombing if the deal collapses. But months of bombing by both the US and Israel with their combined military might did not produce the concessions that Trump demanded. A second round would not produce any different results, just more suffering. Iran knows this. Iran's file is not closed. It's like a pile of other files, including the Epstein files. It will follow this administration to the rest of its term, and the end result will be studied for a long time by historians.